My talk today indeed is about the Chief Consumer Officer, and it's a talk around why companies need to move away from inside out thinking towards outside in thinking. And move to the next slide. Otherwise, Sue, you need to help me. Yes, it happens. So, what is happening in the world today? Well, I think massive change is happening. I think we live in an age where change is all around us. There has never been so much change in the world around us. There have never been so many things changing at the same moment in time. This is truly unique. And this makes, I think, for marketeers and for managers, for decision makers, that decision making has become more complex than ever before. Why? Because there are many possible strategies for the future. There are many possible futures as well, given all the change in many different domains that is happening. And I think if we can be sure of one thing, it's definitely that the future will be fast and furious. So for me, the question is how to deal with this as researchers, as customer intelligence people, as CMI managers. What can we do to help marketing people, to help managers to deal with this massive change in the world around us? And how do we also need to adapt our research methodologies? Well, I think if you look at the fact that the world around us is changing so fast, that the world around us is more complex than ever before, probably we need research methodologies, qualitative research methodologies especially, that allow us to understand complexity, to understand consumers in a 360-degree way. And I think in order to understand consumers in a 360-degree way, you probably need to be connected more with consumers and see how they behave, react, how they think and what they feel in many different situations. So you need to be connected with them more often and give them many different tasks and ask them many different questions. That's the first thing. Secondly, if the world is changing fast, you probably also need a constant finger on the pulse. So if we combine those two aspects, I think we already see a first trend emerging. Probably we need to move away from ad hoc research towards being more structurally connected with researchers, with consumers. Because then as researchers, we will be able to understand consumers better in many different situations, and we will be constantly in the know. A second thing that we see is that, of course, consumers are more empowered than ever before. So probably listening and asking questions alone is not the research methodology of the future. We also need to co-create and collaborate with consumers. So there is massive change in the world around us. We need to help managers, marketing people to navigate that change. We need to help them to understand the complexity. And that means that in terms of our research methodologies, we need methods that are more structural and that have the collaborative philosophy in there. That's why I think the future is to structural collaboration with consumers, connecting with consumers all the time and not only listen, asking questions, but also work together with them. Question is, are consumers ready for that? Yes, they are. They are already doing this. And 4 out of 5 consumers in the world want to do this for brands they have an affinity with, around topics they have an affinity with. Are companies ready for this? A lot of them already are, but even more aren't yet. And it's up to us as researchers to, first of all, of course, move towards structural collaboration, but especially convince the people we work with every single day that this is the way forward. How can we prove that? by showing the value consumers can bring to the business. That's the first thing. And secondly, I think, by showing that if they move towards this way of working, they will be more successful as a company, but also as an individual within that company. So the first point I want to make in my presentation is the world around us is changing, and the reaction to that is structural collaboration. Is a different way of working, especially in qualitative research. And it also means that companies become more open because they are structurally going to open up towards the outside world. They are going to collaborate structurally with the outside world. But I think even becoming that open company is not enough. It's also about being agile. It's not only about being open and being in the know all the time. It's also about having an organization behind you as being that decision maker, as being that manager that can execute what you have decided very well and very fast. Because the world around us is changing fast. Competitive landscapes are moving fast. Competitors listen all the time as well in the future. So it's not only about being in the know, it's also about execution. Quick and very well. And I think one of my clients, Sten Knoops, who was at Unilever R&D and who is now at EFF, also in a CMI role, who is in his spare time a boxing coach, makes often the analogy between boxing and doing business. And he says, for impact, speed is at least as important as the weight you can put behind it. So yes, it's about being fast in boxing, but it's also about hitting hard. And that's the same in business. It's about being in the know, but it's also about having an organization behind you who believes in the decision, who is going to execute it as good and as fast as possible. So I think what we need to do as market researchers is not only adapt the methodology to make sure that we can be in the know all the time, it's about also creating a consumer-centric organization, or I would even say an organization that has become consumer-activated. Because thinking about what consumers want and need is not enough. You need to act upon it. I would even say more, given what we just saw, the whole company needs to act upon it. So the world is full of change, and we need to move away from inside-out thinking towards outside-in thinking. And that means that we are going to become an open company who collaborates, who's in the know all the time, but it also means that we are going to become an organization who is able to act upon what consumers say and want all the time, as fast and as good as possible, with the whole organization, from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom. And in order to define to you what consumer-activated company, what that means, I'm going to first tell you what it is not. It's not faking it. You do it for the right reasons. On the screen you see the former Prime Minister of Norway who went undercover as a taxi driver in the city of Oslo to talk with his citizens. Great initiative. But a couple of weeks later, people found out, journalists found out, that every single person who was in his taxi was pre-screened by his PR agency. So he didn't do it for the listening exercise, he did it for the marketing kind of effect. So first thing, if you want to become consumer-centric, I would even say become a consumer-activated company, do it for the right reasons. Do it first of all because you want to learn, because you want to transform your company. And secondly, for the marketing effect. Second example, what it is not. It's not doing everything consumers ask. It's not because you open up, it's not because you co-create and collaborate with the outside world that consumers take over. On the screen you see a guy who, before he flew back from Europe to New York, to Newark Airport, he tweeted Morton's, his favorite steakhouse, "Hey guys, I missed you so much. It would be great if you would be there with my favorite steak." When he landed in the arrival hall, there was a guy from Morton's delivering him his favorite steak. He tweeted about it towards his 200,000 Twitter followers, and the reactions from the other people, from the other customers of Morton's, were negative. They said, "Hey guys, I'm also living 200 miles away from the nearest Mortons. Can you do it for me? And of course they didn't. And people with only 2 Twitter followers tweeted to Mortons, hey guys, do you also do it for me with my 2 Twitter followers? Of course they didn't. So it's about managing expectations towards consumers. It's about also making sure that people within the company know and understand you still have a job. Consumers are going to help you to make you shine, not the other way around. And thirdly, it's about also understanding that consumers can help you to craft a strategy, to come up with a strategy. They can inspire you, but they are not going to define your strategy. Example you see on the screen is one from Heineken. Heineken decided 3 years ago, we want to link ourselves to design. Next to music, sports, and also film, we also want to link ourselves as a premium brand to design. We are going to design beautiful bottles, but we are also going to design the experiences around our product. So for example, going out, clubbing, lounge bars. That's a strategy that was of course inspired by what they saw in terms of consumer trends. But they did come up with a strategy. Consumers will never come up with a strategy. Consumers inspire you. Consumers can help you to execute the strategy. What also happened in this case? So being a consumer-activated company means that the whole organization opens up towards the outside world. The whole organization acts upon what consumers want, think, and say. But it doesn't mean that you're going to do everything consumers say. It doesn't mean that you don't have a strategy of your own anymore. And it also doesn't mean that you do it for the wrong reasons. You do it for the listening, for the learning, first, for the marketing effect, second. So these are 3 things consumer-activated company are not. What it doesn't mean. But what is it? Well, I think a great quote from one of our other clients at Heinz defines it pretty well. It's about making consumers an integral part of everything you do within the whole organization. In order to give companies guidance in how can we become that consumer-activated company, we walked the road talk and we interviewed senior executives from brands, big brands, who are already going into this direction. And together with them, based on the interviews, based also on bringing them together, we co-created a model, a 5-step plan towards becoming that consumer-activated company. And the 5 steps are, first, having consumer collaboration initiatives in the air. Secondly, it's about making decision makers aware of all the information you learn from that collaboration initiative and let them take action, great actions, quicker than ever before. Thirdly, it's about inspiring the whole organization with what you have learned and letting the whole organization take action. Fourthly, it's about leveraging it externally. Only in step 4 we are going to talk about the marketing effect. And 5, it's about measuring the impact. It's about measuring what this all brings to the company in terms of performance of the people, performance of the products, the services, the marketing campaigns, performance of the organization at large. So we are going to do it, we are going to leverage it internally, externally, and finally we are going to prove our own return on research investment. Something I think we need to do more as market researchers in general as well. So 5 steps to move away from inside-out thinking towards outside-in thinking. 5 steps to become a consumer-activated company, to become open and agile. I'm going to quickly go over each of the steps and give you a couple of best practices or share with you what is important to know, to understand if you want to bring this towards your clients or within your organization. Step 1 is consumer collaboration initiatives, having them in the air. I think a great way of doing this are market research online communities, or how we like to call them, consumer consulting boards. It's a larger group of people that you are connected with over a longer period of time, and they come together on a closed online platform. It's a beautiful qualitative research methodology. And it's one that helps you to co-create and to collaborate with consumers all the time. And I think if you really want to see the power of an MROC, of a CCB, a Consumer Consulting Board, you need to have it structurally, because only then you will have all the effects I'm talking about here. And the beauty of a MROC, or Consumer Consulting Board, is that you both can throw things at people and work on things with people, but you can also listen to them, to what they need, to what trends are. So you can be reactive and proactive. You can generate insights, but also take insights forward towards new services, new products, new marketing campaigns. And I think the beauty is also that by connecting the dots over time in terms of just what people say to each other, what they bring to you in terms of ideas and trends, is that you sometimes also can get questions to answers you didn't know you even had, and discover new opportunities. So it's not only about generating insights about what you want, what you are after, what's already in your strategy, and taking things forward internally as well, and making better decisions faster. It's also about serendipity. And a great example is, I think, Heinz Culinary Ketchup, that came out of connecting different dots over a year time in our Heinz community, our structural Heinz community. And I think it's great, because it's something nobody were after within Heinz, but we discovered it onto the community. And afterwards, we took this product to the market by working together in every single step of the development, and afterwards the launch onto the market, by working together in every single step with the community, allowing us to make better decisions faster. We also created a team, a cross-departmental team that was responsible for the launch. And for the first time in the history of the company, this was happening. And it was the CCB, the Consumer Consulting Board, the Market Research Online Community, who was setting the agenda, and who was, from the very first moment, bringing all those people together with one goal, bringing that product to the market and making it a success together with the consumers on the Consumer Consulting Board. And by doing those two things, working together with the community all the time, working with a cross-departmental team, we brought this product that actually nobody was after in the beginning to the market in 9 months' time instead of 18. And also from a research perspective, the cost of doing the research was 30% lower. This sounds all great, but how do you keep such a consumer collaboration initiative, long-term initiative, into the air? How do you keep ongoing going? Well, first of all, I think it's about doing research at the rhythm of the business. Too often you see that communities are dictating the business what to do. A lot of clients say, my community is living me, is living my agenda. That shouldn't be it. It should be the other way around. You should use the community when you need it. Sometimes more intense, sometimes less intense. Sometimes with a quick 48-hour challenge, sometimes with a deep dive when we want to generate deep insights. The community needs to follow the rhythm of the business. And I think it sounds logic, but it doesn't happen that much. And I think it's good for the people within the company, but also for participants, because they want to have an impact, they want to do something meaningful, not having 4 questions every week. So it's about doing that, but it's also about avoiding the collaboration hangover. Collaboration with consumers can be a great party, but you don't want a hangover the day after. Nor consumers want that, nor people within the business want that. For consumers, it's having feedback. For people within the business, it's seeing the impact of all the time and effort they have spent with consumers. So it's very important, if you run from a CMI perspective these type of initiatives, that you give feedback to consumers, but that you also make sure that people feel the success of this initiative within the business. So that's why we advise to have an ambassador team around your MROC, or Consumer Consulting Board. It's a cross-departmental team from different people within different parts of the business that are using the Consumer Consulting Board. And what are they going to do? Well, they are going to listen to their department and bring things that are relevant to the Consumer Consulting Board, but also bring feedback in. And they are also going to be the ambassadors together with you as a lead within the CMI team. They are going to share the success of the initiative, and by that, keeping it going. That's step one. Point two is activation of internal stakeholders to help them to take relevant action. And I think my point here is that we need to bring consumer insights to life. We need to market our findings in a better way. We can use online tools for that, but also offline tools. And I will briefly share one little example, and the one that I think is most relevant, because you have online tools like letting them fill out little games, but you can also bring your consumers in a meeting room, in a workshop, although it's online qualitative research, where you generate insights in the most effective and efficient way. What makes impact is taking relevant people from your community out, let them talk and share the insights directly together with you, with the managers. That makes impact. And that's what we do quite often, especially like in this case that you see on the screen for Ruffles, a PepsiCo brand in Turkey, where there was a lot of resistance from management to believe what's in the community. Then it can help to just bring a community person with you. And we have other techniques as well, where we try to leverage all the beautiful insights that are coming from a community. Like this is what you see on the screen is for Air France KLM, where we made leftover cards. So all the insights that we didn't use for a particular project, we turned them into leftover cards, so that the next couple of weeks during meetings, they could, let's say, eat the leftover insights from the community. I will go very quickly over points 3, 4, and 5. I'm just going to make 3 points briefly, and then we'll leave time for questions. Point 3 is that you can inspire, I think, with consumer insights a whole organization, not only management. The example I always use is persons at an airport. I know that at Heathrow Airport, the ground personnel of Virgin now wears, as a way of experimenting with it, Google Glasses to understand preferences from frequent flyers better. Well, I think that's great. It's great use of big data. But I think what could happen if that lady has a basic understanding of consumer thinking? That would be even better. What if managers know consumers better? What if the people in the front line have a better understanding of consumers? I think it could help them to become better performers. Of course, sharing consumer insights with the whole organization is not something that happens overnight. It's something that you need to experiment with, to pilot. But we see that in the first instance, it are the movers and shakers within organizations, within all different departments, who are going to pick this up. But if you keep on doing it persistently, it's going to change the way your whole organization thinks and acts. They're going to think more consumer-centric. They're going to act more upon what consumers say. And an example is what we did for Adach, which is a kitchen appliances manufacturer in Europe, where even salespeople were confronted with consumers' insights. The training we have given to them were based on consumer insights, and we have seen that sales went up because consumer insights were shared with the organization, the whole organization. Everybody was more motivated, the salespeople, all the other people within the business, everybody understood the strategy better and took action. And that's great. And step 4 is then leveraging the fact that you actually do something what people nowadays, consumers nowadays, expect from companies towards the outside world. You talk about the fact that you have a community. You talk about the outcomes. You talk about the products that came out of it. And what we see in research is that it's good for the image of your company. You become a more human company, human brand, and it's good also for the sales of those products that are co-created. Because if you tell people that products are co-created by people like them, they see it as more relevant. It is more relevant, of course, but it's also perceived as more relevant if you communicate it. And my final point that I want to make is measure the impact of what you do. We do a lot of pre-post measurements within companies to see and to investigate with real numbers real numbers coming from sales data, real numbers coming from the attitudes of employees. What was the impact of what we did, of those 4 previous steps, on the culture of the organization, the performance of products, services, campaigns, but also people, like salespeople, and what's the impact of communicating all of this to the outside world on the image of the company and of the brand. So that were my 5 steps. Do it, communicate it internally, communicate it externally, and measure the return on research investment. And finally, have somebody who coordinates all of this, a chief consumer officer, who is coaching consumers to give the best of them, who is the action hero, who makes sure that management is making decisions faster, better, who is also engaging the whole organization, and who is that ecosystem builder. And it needs to be a C person, because it's not going to happen overnight, and it involves the whole organization. So this was my talk, and I think it's like trying to let everybody feel and see that consumer insights and what we do as researchers has far more potential. Leverage it to the maximum extent.